By the way, maybe you should sneak over to the next door and tell your old friend, who's a Federation soldier, by the way, that a creepy Xeon guy has video of you because I gave it to him. Well, maybe you don't want to implicate yourself. Creep kid. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of 0080 War in the Pocket. We have a comment, we have notes, we have a board. Lessons doesn't know that I've done this, but I apologized in text form in the overlay of last episode to the goofy-ass nature that we regarded War in the Pocket in our reaction that day, because we watched it right after Gundam Wing, and we had a goofy-ass attitude when we watched Gundam Wing. Well, as well, we didn't take it as seriously as we normally do Universal Century episodes, so I was apologizing ahead of time there. So, just reiterating that apology if episode 1 comes off a bit goofy. Well, Gundam Wing seems to do that to us. That said, though,
this is supposed to be the one who is the most serious of them all, right? The very tragic one, for what I gathered.
Spoilers, huh? Spoilers.
Don't know exactly why. I don't remember why. But
literally, you told me already that you know how this one goes. You remembered it. You've told me this already, so now you're like telling me, oh, it's the most serious one. It's the most tragic. Spoilers, my dude. Don't tell me shit. I'm the one who's the most blind of us here because you keep telling me, oh, yeah, actually, seems that I've watched all of Gundam, as it turns out. Somehow I spent, because I don't know how many hours there are of Gundam, but, you'd have to dedicate, a significant part of your life to watching it to know all this shit. And you just keep coming back to me, oh, yeah, actually, as it turns out, I know everything about Gundam. And somehow just forgot the half of my life I spent watching Gundam. Just don't spoil me for shit. Just assume I know nothing, right? Assume that we're going to the movie theater together, and you've seen the movie, and you want me to enjoy it. Don't tell me anything.
I'm not going to be the guy who's going to narrate you the end while he's watching it. Yeah.
No. See, you put the qualify in there while he's watching it. No, you keep telling me everything before we're watching it. God, I can't. The dog dies. Could you believe that? And you're like, what, man? We haven't even gotten there.
Yeller.
Or the red fern grows. See? All right, let's go ahead and go to the board first. As with all the boards, I come to the board changelog, where I added Misha, Garcia, Andy, and the captain. Connected them all with a green line. Then I marked Andy as dead. Added Al, Jay, and their third friend, and the girl. Added Christina McKenzie, and I added the new Xeon soldier guy.
Okay, so the changes on the board, we don't got a name for the parents, right? Or the last names?
I don't have a name for most of the characters. It's not board changes, it's like board creation. Since episode 1 was the last first? Last episode was the last and first episode. The last episode we watched, the first episode of the series.
No. Well, actually, he didn't scream his name. He just said, ah!
No, actually, he screamed the name, didn't he? I don't remember. I know I have a note about it. I have a note about it, so I'm not going to be bothered. Because present me doesn't remember. Me from 5 hours ago was there.
Teacher. This so I had to comment that this is the most 80s show that we watched so far. Mostly because we don't watch shows from the 80s, but, the music, the style of the clothing, the hair, everything is very 80s.
We do watch shows in the 80s. Macross.
SDF1 was Macross. SDF1 was 80s. That was it. Because Plus is 90s.
The movies, 90s. The Gundam movies.
Well, but most of that was a recap of the 70s show.
It was reanimated, a bunch of reanimated scenes. But also, you're saying it's reanimated 70s show. Yeah, 79. I think we're on the edge there. We can call it.
No, 88, 80 to 89. That's your decade right there. But yeah, board creation. But still, like what I say that so far, I feel that this is the most 80s show we watch. Even more 80s than SDF Macross, which is pretty much the 80s. It was 84 when it came out, so this feels even more 80s than that.
I guess. I mean, I don't really have a good, even though the 80s is my favorite decade, I just don't, I don't have a good sense for what makes the 80s, right?
Color palette, clothing, the hair. I mean,
Sure,
but
the
the
this
hair
is
of that
also
teacher alone.
this is
Yeah,
also anime. 70s
true.
anime can also look like the fucking 80s because they're trying to be ahead of their time. And sometimes
Also
they just fucking call that big hair is going to be big.
There's also a sense, I always call it sharpness. I don't know why I call it that, because there's nothing that characterizes anime from the 1980s that wasn't really before or after. It went away. Like the most of, especially big giant robot anime of the era, sci-fi era, had this sort of a lot of particle effects, a lot of focus on like little dust mites and stuff like that, and fire, and sort of sharp cuts around all the colors and the faces and everything else. And I think that's has to me the feel of the 80s, where before in 79 was a little bit softer. In the 1990s was kind of all over the place, right? The different styles, experimentation and all that. But in the 80s they were very focused, right?
I guess my problem here is that I watch a lot of shit from across multiple decades, and sometimes it's just hard to tell. Like 1974 Space Battleship Yamato looks incredibly good for the era that it comes out. No. Let me finish, because I'm trying to do a comparison work here, and you're jumping in before. Okay. I'm not just saying, "Oh, this is a really good looking show," and then done. I'm done. Space Battleship Yamato, 1974, looks really good for when it comes out. Compare that to, say, Voltace 5, which is, 4 or 5 years after that. And Voltace 5 looks, I'm not going to call it bad, but it looks worse than, I would say, Space Battleship Yamato. And then Gundam, a couple years after Voltace 5, looks better than Voltace 5, so another Tomino work, for example. And I would say maybe even comparable to most, say, Space Battleship Yamato that I've seen so far. I'm only like 10 episodes in. And that is over the course of a decade. The decade's best work can appear to be the next decade's work, and its worst work can look decades before it. So it's really hard to pinpoint a specific look for a decade unless you're talking about like the mainstay of a decade, right? If we were going to say, I can't pull one off the top of my head, what the best work of a decade would be, and say I recognize that as being the 80s because that is so quintessential an 80s anime.
I would have to go back, especially if looking at the special effects, and go frame by frame to see the kind of things that I think would make it the 80s very particular, which is, I find it hard, mostly because I'm not a film maker and certainly not an animator. I'm sure an animator will like, you see, when you talk about particle effects, what you're talking about is this. And when you talk about lighting, what you really should be talking about the shading and the color contrast around lines. And like, okay, fine. I don't know about that.
Long story short, tune into our new series where me and Lessons watch the first episode of every anime ever aired in the 80s so that we can determine alongside you what the best, whatever. I don't know where that joke was going.
How 80s is this 80s anime, yes.
I mean, that could be a thing. I was going to talk about when you were talking about animation styles or whatever from the 80s, and we could judge what the qualifying characteristics of the animation style of the 80s would be. But again, to my point about our different anime of a decade being better or worse than the general median of what the art style would be, to make them look better, like, say, a 70s anime being as good looking as an 80s anime might, or as bad as a 60s anime might. Well, 60s could be 69 because that would be Astro Boy and like 5 others. But my point being, I lost it. I had a point. I was getting there and I spent too long. My brain was like, no, we're done. Shut up. Yeah. Throttling you.
Yeah, I would have to go back. Yeah, I'll probably do my own thing.
Well, no, sorry. I just noticed. My point was studios. Different studios do different levels of art, and this was also the era of outsourcing the oh god, I should remember this because it was in a show that we both watched
Mhm.
live, Animation Runner, where they talked about the
Yeah,
specific cells that have to be done by a different studio.
yeah,
And during this period, not 80s, well, maybe 80s too. I know heavily in the 70s, outsourcing to cheaper Korean studios, which did lesser quality work. So you'd see your main cells being in high quality, and then a bunch of lesser quality stuff. So if you're from a studio that doesn't outsource to cheaper animation studios, then you might
yeah.
not have that quality to you as well.
There were a bunch of anime that I would compare, like Project Echo, um, Gunbuster, this. Later on, when we see Zeta and stuff like that, which also was in the
Cool, more
80s.
stuff that you know.
Yeah. I like to watch them all and say, okay, SDF Macross, stuff like that to really get, especially in the movie, to get really what I'm trying to say. But
Well,
right
my
now,
problem is also
it's
I remember things with like rose tinted goggles. Like they
Mhm.
might not have looked that good, but in my memory, I remember them at the
I'm not.
quality that my memory is.
That's true. Daikuger also has Daikuger very much has some scenes that are like right off the bat. Even GI Joe the movie, for the movie itself in some instances, because it was made, it was an American show, but it was Japanese studios, and Transformers as well. The movie had that really aspect to it. You can throw it in the comparisons to see what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyway, that's my take on it. It just feels like very much a quintessential 80s anime to me, and not just because it's 0080, of course. So on what your notes then?
As
Since I
per
have
the rules, you have
Mhm.
more, which means you go first.
First note, when I told Feta that not all underwater mobile suits sucked, and yes, I am a Fetty stan, so they don't tend to have any dedicated underwater mobile suits. This is what I meant. Sure, they lost, but they kick ass. I'm talking about the opening sequence in the last episode where, they
Gogs
come out of the.
are a weird thing. When we first saw them in the OG Mobile Suit Gundam, they were pretty cool because they just could withstand fire. That was their whole thing. They have heavy armor. And now they're just
Yeah.
getting punctured by just fucking anything. These are weird Gogs. They say that they're a Gog model. And to be fair, these things are like, what is that? Like jesters or like circus freaks. Because they just like all bouncy and weird. Like, they don't move like normal Gog. Well, the only Gogs we've seen before.
Yeah.
So,
But still, they look pretty cool the way they move, right? Very different.
they're not my thing.
Mhm.
Gogs, I think, are still, they're not the ugliest, but they're not like the coolest looking mecha that I've ever seen.
No, definitely
And they're
not.
getting less and less effective as time goes on, which is weird because we're still in the 1 year war. They should be as effective as they've always been. And yeah, I still hate underwater combat. Underwater combat suffers the same problems as most space combat, which is to say there's no real landmarks that I can tell when and where things are happening. Anyway, my note. Episode 1 takes place directly between episode 11 of 8th MS Team. The one we both remembered as being the last episode before we rewatched the show. And episode 31 of OG Gundam. Like, literally directly. Episode 11, 8th MS Team, I can't remember what days they are, happens on one day. Then the first episode,
November, yeah.
no, it's just saying on one specific day, and then
Mhm.
the next day is this episode of War in the
Mhm.
Pocket, where this episode
Yeah.
takes place across a number of days, and then the day after the last day of War in the Pocket is episode 31 of OG Gundam. So the day before this episode begins, Shiro and Aina are making their big stand against Gneas and his mobile armor, and the day after it ends, White Base is being introduced to Slegger and launching off from Jaburo on their decoy mission.
Second note, also on underwater combat. Mentioning of a warm current coming from the glacier is a nice touch. It means that they will exploit the thermocline layer, the difference in temperature, which okay, this kind of happens. Thermocline layers when you have different temperatures and currents, and the layer is the boundary between them, to make it harder for passive sonar to detect them. Because if you go over or under the layer tends to either trap or reflect sound waves. So if you have sonar, which would probably be the best way to detect these incoming gogs, right? And you're listening over the layer, so higher, then they're going under the layer. The sound they make will be trapped under the layer and wouldn't be heard very well up here. But if you have, conversely, if you have a sonar under the layer, that layer would, because it bounces the sonar, the sound would carry it further and would be heard easier. So I thought it was a nice touch for anybody who has known a little bit about sub warfare.
No. Two things. One, Lessons turns out there's a fighter jet nerd and a submarine nerd. Well, sorry, but I didn't mean to do both those. Anyway, second thing is I could tell you really enjoyed it because you chuckled in the middle as you were about to explain the other half of the fact. You're like, because what that would mean is, kind of the way you snorted when you were watching Gundam Wing. You just really fucking loved it. And it was like, oh, Les is really enjoying himself. Unluckiest GM pilot in history, I think. Hand joint falls apart, but still enough power in the hand to keep the gun activated. Shoots themselves in the cockpit as the gun goes crazy, hanging loose.
Also, the chest of that gun, I know it's a general model, but it looked very similar to MS Team's sort of machine gun plate thing that they had on the chest, which could also turn out to be a gun as well. Which is not usually found in most GMs, or gyms as they called them in what was it? Requiem for Vengeance.
Yeah.
And in the English version, it's like, oh, they're gyms. Jim who? Where? Oh, GMs. Oh, okay.
Well, we need the gyms to fight Jean.
Yeah. I know about the gyms. I don't think that particular GM survived that shuttle blasting up from the pad. Because there's one shuttle protecting the pad.
And I know what you're talking about. I think my next note's going to slightly talk about that, but not the shuttle launch. Because I thought about that, what you're talking about. I think he would have. I don't think he would have been suicidally protecting the shuttle. Because it's basically the guys were like, I can't do that job in 5 minutes. These like ordinary worker guys. I don't know. I think it's a pretty important thing he was protecting, though. At the same time, the GOG crew, the show really made them feel incompetent. Then again, the GOGs were fucking the worst GOGs we've ever seen. Again, I'm thrown off by the fact that the fire that's killing Andy is essentially the stuff that the first GOG we ever saw just shrugged off. That's why the GOGs were so fucking impressive. It's like, oh god, these things are so fucking armored. Normal fire can't do anything to them. It just fucking bounces off. We gotta retreat. And that was just the hand weaponry of GMs.
Which are now being weapons in this case, by the way. I guess they didn't have enough of those.
Yeah, but I mean, the first time the GOGs got shot, that was done by, I always want to use the word slug weaponry.
Yes, tanks and rockets and stuff like that. And then it also was shrugged up the Vulcans as well. Yeah, I think it was beam sabers and the beam weapons that really did it in.
Yeah, so it's very disappointing, these GOGs. So, the GOG company from the start of the episode were searching for something that they thought may have been on the transport planes, but those turn out to be decoys. Then, think that it might be in the cargo container getting ready to launch on the shuttle and attempt and fail to intercept that. Earlier, an engineer on comms was talking about how long it would take them to load a container, and they were standing in front of a big orange box with the numbers 02238X on it. We then see it being loaded onto the shuttle when Andy makes his attempt to shoot the shuttle and gets himself killed. In a brief few seconds, when Al is zooming in on the port with his camera, there is an orange cargo container that you can only briefly read the numbers on the side of, which says 00238X. Obviously, it's off by a 2, but I think that's just a typo, and this is supposed to be that same container. Leading to why Zeon is assaulting this place later. In the fade out of the doors, sorry, I typed this right. In the fade out, as the doors are opening, it seems like a Gundam head is visible. Not sure if it's meant to be an entire Gundam unit or not, though. I'm very disappointed in the attention to detail, because you know how I love to zoom in on stuff and polish screens and do all that shit. 02238X at the port. Not at the port, sorry. 02238X at the spaceport. Sorry, they're both spaceports. What do you call the place where the shuttle is launching? 02238X at the spaceport at the other place. 00238X. It's not the same number. I think it's supposed to be the same cargo container. It doesn't have the same number on it.
Now I because I noticed this. I noticed it in GQuicks, and I saw it here, and I've seen it somewhere else as well. Mostly in GQuicks. I think in Origins too. We saw Air Una, UNA, and SAS in other shows. Like you see the corporations in the background, and they show the flight to this and this as an air space UNA.
Well, we're gonna do this in a weird way. We're going to the comment section now.
Okay.
Blue Comet from the Patreon, from the episode 0080 War in the Pocket, episode 1, How Many Miles to the Battlefield. Comment to lessons. SAS and Air Luna were both shown at the spaceport in the end credits of the GQuicks episode 8, which probably explains why you've seen them before.
And I also, like I said, I think it also are part of, you see them in Origins as well, when they're taking flights to.
Well, if you remember when we were recording, I think it was the GQuicks episode, I said there was a note somewhere about someone saying you recognized something at the spaceport, and I thought maybe it was regarding me, so I thought I said something about two people looked familiar, and it turns out it was regarding this, and that's why I couldn't find it, because it was specifically for this episode, and I was looking at general Gundam stuff on the YouTube. So apparently you must have said something about them looking familiar, and they're pointing out that you just literally watched last week an episode. You didn't have to go all the way back to Origin, which was months ago. Apparently last week, or 2 weeks? Sorry, did we watch episode 10 of GQuicks or 9 of GQuicks last week? Or yesterday?
No. Yesterday. Yeah, we watched the one where...
No, I know what it was. I just remember it's episode 10 or episode 9.
I have to go back.
Well, either way, they're pointing out in episode 8. That's where you saw those. So if they look familiar, it's because you watched them a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, your comment was literally about it, so I had to go back and...
No. I get it.
I wonder if the captain was crying out over Andy's death because it was his first loss, that he's new to the war, or if he was just particularly close to Andy. Screaming out over death isn't the most common response. It's usually depicted as being a bit over the top, or to express some specific narrative between characters. I'm just wondering if it's more of one than the other.
Could be. Although considering also the late date in which this is happening, this could be post or near or post. Actually, it's post Odessa. So a lot of the people from Earth have fled. A lot of Zeon has fled from Earth. Not all of them, because we, according to Requiem for Vengeance, we also have forces in Africa. Not we, Zeon. I'm not Zeon. I'm Fetty.
I'm Zeon. Fuck you.
Yeah. In Africa as well, but this seems to be in the North or South Pole, so one of the poles, or at least extreme northern and southern latitude. So, I don't know. Maybe he's like, oh, he could have. If this could have been our last mission, could have go back to space, but now he's dead. So
that's what I'm saying. He's doing the screaming thing, and the screaming thing is typically it's not done every time somebody dies. So usually it's meant to express something narratively to us. So either this guy never had anybody die in his command before, and it's new to him, or Andy was particularly close, and like the whole team was close. But at best, we've only been getting like nicknames, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. Although Andy isn't a nickname like everybody else. By the way, did you rewatch this in English? Because I know I say I always do. I rewatch everything in English.
No, I did in Japanese.
Oh, it's a shame. Quality cast in English. The one that jumped out to me, and I can't now remember his name. He played Tom in the toonami promo stuff.
Tom Servo.
No,
Not Tom
Tom.
Servo. No,
Tom Servo with
just
Mystery
Tom.
Science 3000. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I know who you're
he,
talking about.
he's famous. I just can't remember his name. Also famous
He's also
for.
done Mass Effect and other.
Oh yeah, no,
shows. Yeah, I
tons
know
of
who you're
stuff.
talking
It's just I thought that
Yeah.
would be the one that would spark.
Yeah. Oh, he's an excellent voice actor. He's doing the captain of the crew, right?
Yeah.
He usually is getting the
Also, well,
gruff.
sorry. The idea is also God, one of the people in English who voices let's just call him the kid who loves food and the teacher. The teacher and the kid who loves food are both played by the same voice actor, but also I think the girl in the class is not the same person, but a voice actor who shares the same last name as the person who voiced the other two, making me think it's a family thing. But no, there's other like higher to do voice actors I can't think of the name of.
Steve Bloom.
Yeah, Steve Bloom. I remember I used to love Steve Bloom in like every role I ever heard him in because he's a very iconic voice.
I mean, he was Spike Siegel in Cowboy Bebop, which the maker of Cowboy Bebop loved Steve Bloom as being the voice of Spike. Like, oh, this is the best version ever.
Yeah, no, I'm saying very iconic voice actor. Didn't he also do Zex Marquis?
I think he did Zex Marquis. He also, I think, was in Big O as well.
And Zoids. He was a character in Zoids. I remember very specifically because I watching Zoids. Like, wait a second, that guy has Zex's voice. See, I can only tell voice actors when they're in English. I can't tell Japanese voice actors apart.
I do some pick up some.
I'm not saying like they all sound the same. It's just I don't.
Yeah.
If I can't, the same reason why I rewatch everything in English. I can't tell the inflections on voices and everything like that. So I don't have the emotional connection to what's being said as much as I do when it's in my own native language.
Yeah, Roger Smith in Big O, which that was an interesting.
Cast ye in the name of God. That's not cast ye in the cast in the name of God, ye not guilty. And of course, it's not like cast the die. It's cast as in stage play because the whole fucking show is essentially a stage play. That's why the lights fall down from heaven at the very end. Because what's his name? That's basically that one Batman villain whose name I can't remember. Hush, the guy who's effectively Hush in Big O, is basically establishing for everyone. No, this is actually just a giant play. Who the fuck knows what was happening before we all got amnesia? But now this is a giant fucking play.
Yeah, he also played Grunt in Mass Effect 2.
I mean, yeah, I understand that Steve Bloom has a very good record of playing stuff. Yeah, and a lot of times he was also doing it over the phone. He did most of Tom over the phone. Yeah. I've heard from other interviews he did at the time. No, interviews of the people that worked with him at the time. He would call in the studios and just do it over the phone.
Literally phoning it in.
Yeah, that was a joke. But the idea being that audio quality back then was at such a level that it didn't matter because it wouldn't be that different from being in studio.
This is talking about when they're in the loading zone in the colony. The workers must be using magnetic boots in the landing area since they seem to walk about normally. Then again, Gundam is very inconsistent with how gravity really works.
I think he's passing through different levels of the place when he's getting to the port. Because at certain points he is floating, and then certain points he's walking, indicating that he must be passing through different, like, mid-levels, I guess, between where he would be passing through lower G and then getting back into rotational levels.
Except that literally, when he gets discovered, he's bracing himself in the air, go like, oh, I gotta go pee. He's basically floating. And the worker's like...
No, I mean, I understood what I was saying. None of it made sense because literally it should be lower gravity the further in you are, higher gravity, like centrifugal force, the further out you are. You should be like more than 1G on the outer edge and then losing gravity or against centrifugal force. Effective gravity. Everyone knows what I'm fucking talking about. I don't mean to keep replacing the right words. But yeah, the closer to the center you are. So what is it? The... 4 kilometers in? I don't remember what they said back when we got...
Yeah, because the central spire and the ends, that's where you have the ships coming in, because that's the least gravity there, or 0G. But the workers, he's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, no, I forgot about that. No, see, I was talking about it from the outer edge, but then again, it'd be spinning so fast, you would never want to come dock it in like that. It'd be like the the crash from Interstellar to bring up a previous thing you mentioned. Yeah, that's why it's in the middle. But then again, oddly, you think you'd have the dock circular. They're always a rectangle. They're always a rectangle because if the thing is spinning, the rectangle would be spinning too, and you'd have to, match your spin with that. But if it was a circle, you could just fly in and then match on the inside whatever was going on the inside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is shit why I can't play Eve.
Yeah, but at moments before, you see him, Al crawling on the floor. It's like, why are you crawling on the floor if you're weightless, right? I guess you can use the floor to propel you. That makes sense. Yeah, and then later on, when the different you see some workers floating by, and then you see other workers. The thing is, here's the thing. I think they're trying to avoid the moonwalk thing, right? Most sci-fi tries to avoid it because it's kind of awkward. Like people going like, oh.
Well, I mean, he's on the station. He knows how it works. It could be possible he's just trying to keep low profile so he doesn't get spotted, and he's not pushing away from the floor.
Yeah, he's using it to
maybe before the scene started, he licked his hands and wiped his spit on his knees, so he had a little bit of a stick to him.
Yeah,
or maybe he's covered in static electricity, and he's just same thing you do to a balloon before you put it to the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, but also you see workers floating around. It's like, it's which also reminds me a little bit of what we're watching. The last episode, and probably be out by now. Well, when you watch this, of course, it will be of G-Crux, where they do show again. They don't do the whole bounding in the moon. They are in the moon, but when they're jumping around, you can see them doing the jumps. Neon is trying to get away from Miguel, right? And she does major leaps. It's not that she's super jumper. It's she's in moon gravity and she can do that. It's okay, that kind of makes sense, right? She gets into the the purple Gundam.
Catherine?
Yeah.
Caecilia, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Oh, she does. Like I always say, she loves her purple.
She does.
Yeah.
It's a royal color.
Mm-hmm. Imperial, even.
Well, it was a royal color back in... I mean, there's Imperial purple, but there's also a royal color back in Phoenician times. If I had to guess where we were, as that was the question I had during our watch of the first episode, I'd put my money on side 6 for a number of reasons. We only know of 2 declarations at the start of the war. Riha, side 6, declared neutrality, and Hate, side 2, sided with the Federation. In the previous graphic showing the sides in the OG Gundam, we saw a red X over sides 1, 2, 4, and 5. Side 3 is Munzo itself. Side 7 we have no real info on after the first couple of episodes when we leave it. The people of this colony seem relatively carefree, on top of, not being dead to nukes, gassing, or bombardment. So either side 3 or side 6. They don't seem to be Zeon, as per that one kid's mentioning war with Zeon and the Federation, implying that they are neither of those, so I'm going with side 6.
Also side 7 was still under construction. Not the outer part, but the inner part was still under construction.
Sorry, yes, that's factually true, but my indication is that this is December, so...
Yeah.
My argument is more so that we saw side 7 in September, we left and haven't gotten any further information about it. For all we know, side 7 is effectively Texas right now.
Yeah.
I mean, literally right now, because Texas, after Origin, we know that McQueeve and Char and Amuro had a fight there, and then they blew holes in it, and if no one...
It was already messed up, by the way.
Well, if nobody went back to side 7 to fix the holes that Amuro incidentally blew into it, then it is essentially Texas right now, without the bovines.
I note about Christine's books. I say Chris because she says as a shortened name. Books are a guide to sci-fi and an exercise book, or possibly a comedy.
No.
Either way.
I've got note. Let me just add to it, and then we can have the discussion. The books Chris dropped: Frank Kelly Frey's The Art of Science Fiction. Real book. You can get it new in hardcover, like Chris had, for $104 on Amazon. I guess she had 2 copies of it because the other book lying open is turned to the page Off and Running or Vice Versa, which is an essay by Frank Kelly Fries published in that same book.
It could be volume 1, volume 2.
I don't think they're volumes. I think it's one book.
She really likes that book, I guess.
Like I said, I looked it up. That's why you said it's a book about exercise. It's like, no, I went and looked at this too. Literally, this was 2 notes from my next note. So it's like, you're jumping me ahead as you always do. Yeah, no, I looked it up and it was like, oh, is there anything really about this? And it's like, no, apparently people in Gundam were somewhat inspired by Frank Kelly Fries. I'm assuming I'm saying his name right. Freas. But yeah, no, I looked it up and I was like looking at all this stuff and it's like, where is Off and Running or Vice Versa published? By the way, 1970s. So that's why it could be inspiring Gundam people.
Guide to Sci-Fi is, right?
The Art of Science Fiction by Frank Kelly Fries. Like I said, you can buy it in a hardcover for $104 on Amazon. But if you look up Off and Running or Vice Versa 1970, you'll see that it's an essay by Frank Kelly Fries that's published in the book The Art of Science Fiction.
It's an eBay UK. That's what I found. So,
well, I mean, I found it on Amazon. You can buy it in paperback or hardcover. I only listed the hardcover one because it's very clear that Chris has it in hardcover. Certainly wouldn't let 2 hardcover books, both worth $100 each, get rained on. That's for certain.
Well, that was your note answering my note, so I guess to go to my
literally
next
the same note twice.
Yeah, I'll go. This one's pretty short. I guess Owl's parents are divorced.
I think they're getting divorced.
Yeah,
I think that's what the note is, because you know how unhappy she was to see it. Mm-hmm. I think that you said during the episode you thought it was alimony or something.
Mm-hmm. Either way.
Well, I mean, alimony would imply that they're already divorced. I feel like maybe that's the paperwork. Like, I need you to sign this.
Yeah, the dad reminded me of my dad. And my dad got divorced 3 times, so yeah, it fits.
My dad only got divorced once.
Yeah.
And then hooked up a lot.
He sounds like my dad, too.
Well, the less said, the better then. My next note. The kids are eating synth meat because of a lack of material goods due to the ongoing war.
Yeah. Also, I think that synthetic meat would be something that would be easier to grow in space, I guess.
Remember, Texas had a bunch of, a rancher colony and everything like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Texas was also a different side than this grouping. And this is the commerce, essentially, side. Well, it's known for it. I mean, every time we ever go here, it's like white base buying shit, especially the cook. And God, that was before. I mean, that was after this. So essentially, that means, because remember, the cook is buying or is making hamburgers all the time.
Yeah.
So he's making unsatisfactory synth meat hamburgers. Then, well, it's either that or they're keeping the real meat to the commerce dock, and then the school is getting not secondhand, but lesser quality synth meat. Because remember, the kids are like, I don't want to eat lunch. You can have my food. So it's that bad that you have to have a taste for it.
And the mom also created a quiche that had no meat in it. So,
well, yeah, but she also has like an outdoor garden on the balcony and whatnot. So clearly to the point where, sorry, I'm just thinking about all the times I've heard everyone say, have your chicken, raise your own chickens so the egg prices will go down. It's also funny because my cousin does have raised chickens.
Yeah, a chicken farm, yeah.
Yeah, she does in her backyard and then gives the rest of the family eggs.
The problem is not the problem is the avian flu, you idiots, which is highly contagious among chickens. You know, and this is just a note on how Al is behaving when he was doing the shooting game.
It's literally my next note.
I can also understand Al's frustration at the limitations that an 11-year-old is put under. You want to grow up so fast and get to set your own life. If only.
I legit don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we only have the same notes? Is it the show has so little to talk about that we both only came up with the same things? Or is it like a notice about us that we both only just focus on the same things? Anyway, I'm going to respond to your note with my note. This is my last one, by the way. The whole yes mom scene really paints Al as a bored creep. I get that he's saying yes mom over and over again because he's bored and dissatisfied with his life, but that he just keeps saying it to himself over and over again because it upsets her, without her even being around. That's just creepy. And then doing it while shooting at stuff that represents your hometown, that's sniped in a bell tower levels of crazy. He's getting in trouble at school so much that he's constantly standing in the corner and being made to clean the toilets. He says that to Chris. Plus, he's being held back for a year. Al is a kid with problems. Also, I think his parents are getting a divorce. Sorry, I included it there at the end of this one. So, I mean, essentially, he has a problematic home life in regard to his parents. He's acting out essentially to himself, but he's acting out in a way of like, you know, I'm going to be in a book repository later, me and my gun. He's reading as a problematic kid. But get the yes mom thing over and over again as he shoots in a video game the buildings around your hometown as the level was labeled. So, creepy. It's a creepy kid.
I mean, also it's like the father's like, "Oh, hey, how are your grades?" Like, "Oh, I have a C- average," which in most cases, especially my parents would have gone crazy.
Well, he said C to B because he says science and math, but I was more focused. I was more focused on that scene with the so. How's mom doing? So. How's your school? So. You fucking kid. this kid. I'm glad that girl keeps getting him in trouble. He deserves every bit of it.
I don't know. I think I can't identify with him. Like he's like frustrated in his position in life right now.
As I indicated, I agree with that. He's a bored creep, like I said. But it's not that I don't understand it. I'm an adult now. I don't have to identify with the kids in shows. That's why I like Gate and everything, where the main character is a middle-aged person or something, or older, right? I don't have to agree with the kid. The kid's finding himself, or he's bored and he has a bad home life because he doesn't understand what's going on with his parents. Blah, 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 blah. I understand kids are kids, but at the same time, people hate me in the fucking comments because I keep telling the kid needs to get punished, or some shit like that. Or what a weird ass kid. It's like, well, they're kids. Yeah, so what? I was a kid too. I got through it. You fucking get through it.
That's not a good piece of advice.
I suffered. Here's the thing.
You must suffer too.
Here's the thing. 1, don't have any kids of my own, so I'm not inflicting this on a real person. 2, these are anime characters. I'm not inflicting them on a real person. I guess point 2, same as point 1.
Yeah.
And 3, none of this is real. Also, 4, you're probably an adult listening to this. If you're a kid listening to this, the channel's not for you. I have it specifically listed as not for kids. So, also, my audience doesn't apply to you. Points 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the same point.
Good thing you don't feel so strongly about it.
No, I don't feel strongly. I feel strongly about the argument being leveled at me about these are kids. No, they're not, actually. They're kids written by adults. Because I don't think this is the writing of a child. Therefore, these are representational kids in the mind of an adult writer. So they're not kids at any level. The animator, these aren't drawn by kids either. At no point is a kid involved at the level that I'm directing my comments to. I'm not a kid, so I'm not a kid judging other kids.
Yeah. Anyway, talking about what's her name? We don't get the name of her. The bratty girl. Well, not bratty.
She's not bratty girl. She is the most reasonable person, I would think, in the entire show.
Yeah.
So far.
Also, that other kid deserve a kick in the nuts. You don't put your hands on somebody, don't expect to get kicked.
Also levels towards my Al as a creepy bored kid, because he also tried to put hands on that girl. So I don't blame her when she looks at her and like that. Like, kick your friend in the nuts. Sure, your friend was laying hands on a girl. And then what did you do? Laid hands on a girl. Like, when your friend tries to beat up a girl, this isn't the time to back him up. Yeah. You're the wrong here. Girl did right, 100%, all throughout the show. Even when she was wrong, I felt like she was right.
But in this case, I'm calling out for being wrong because, well, she was proven wrong about the Federation not having mobile suits. I guess we don't get a lot of Federation propaganda in this Banshee.
As I said, I believe this is side 6, in which case they're not the experts. Literally, I think the worst thing that she did was to prove them wrong, spent $6 at a dollar store to buy all these fake things. I'm going to prove them wrong by spending my money. That'll show them. Okay. Sorry, I say $6 because, again, I rewatched this in English, and they're like, at the dollar store, they sell all of those Federation marker things at the dollar store. Here's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, from Ensign up to Fleet Admiral or whatever the top one that she got was. But again, I think it's probably reading as like elementary school romance. I'm messing with you because I actually like you. That's why I keep butting my head in. And that's why I keep looking at you.
That part I hate. Yeah.
I don't mind it. I mean, it's connecting the people together and whatnot. Like, it's going to make the emotion hit harder if one of them fucking dies. Also, I think you were still wrong about the end credits. No note about it, but the entire end credit line is about showing everybody in wartime situation. And then why would you end before the war? Why would the last picture be before the war when every other picture leading up to it is literally everyone dealing with the war? And I will say, I think I was wrong about the pillboy helmets. I think I was wrong about the pillboy helmets, but I do think those are like essentially the mid-credit roll, where they're like Xeon helmets. I think they're wearing wartime helmets. They're not the we're going on a field trip, slice of life Japanese, 80s, 70s, 90s stuff that you were talking about. I think they're still very much wartime helmets. Which is the lead into what I was talking about before, about I don't feel threatened. These kids are going to die if they show us at the end of the year in a picture.
You have more notes?
No, that was my last note. That's why I kept adding on when you were done your note, because it was my impromptu note about a thing that I remembered that we had discussed.
And this was sort of a random thing when all the fighting started. You would think somebody would have a plan to evacuate the children in the middle of a battle. Like the teachers should go like, hey, get into the school or something. Like, I don't know, the kids just ran away and nobody said anything.
I think there should be like a fire drill, single file line. We get a note at a space distance from the school. But I think they were on like lunch or something. That's why they don't let you go onto the actual roof to have your lunch. That's not a thing. So that's why it's always like the delinquents are on the roof. You're not supposed to like Evangelion where you can all have lunch up there. Or Fooly Cooley, you can all have lunch up there. No, that's why the roof is typically locked.
I guess those air conditioners and stuff like that,
Yeah,
they could fall over.
That's why they also have the gates up around everything like that. I guess at one point it was something that you could do, and then, same reason why we also put suicide netting around the work buildings.
Yeah, let's not do that.
No more working or near the windows or on the roof. But yeah, no, I assume it was during a lunchtime or after school and they got up there or something like that. But I'm assuming anybody that was in the building was going to be under teacher supervision or whatnot.
Well, those were my notes. All 11 of them.
All right. Well, I believe that was everything since we included the comment in the middle of the note section, which is why I took that quick note at the time. Hopefully I remember that. And don't just like do all the editing and then like, fuck, the editing is messed up now because now all the time has changed because I've cut everything. Anyway, I say let's go ahead and hop on in and see what episode 2 gives us. Well, I'll find out. I'll find out my voice. I'm actually 17. All that kid stuff I talked about before, I've got that aging disease and I'm like really angry about how well people think about kids because I've got the real opinion. That Robin Williams movie was based on me. Jack. Couldn't remember for a second. Anyway, let's hop on in and I'll find out what's coming since Lesson already knows everything.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Not massively in love with the opening.
Yeah.
It's not
And
a bad
rare all
song.
English song. Yeah.
But
all
yeah, it's not
English
a
song
bad
as well.
song. It's just the lyrics
Oh.
those don't do anything for me, and the opening animation feels out of place.
Mm.
Like, I mean, maybe they're trying to like paint innocence.
Memories of childhood. Yeah, memories
Also,
of
by the
childhood
way,
before.
quintessential 80s, 1989. Almost to my argument about 1979's Gundam. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. All those drawings. I must be in the school with drawing planes, but they're also
well,
bunnies,
remember,
but
like I
they're
was
also
pointing out about the ending,
Yeah.
the ending credits, and I was telling about that was all during the war, and literally someone's painting pictures on the outside of a zaku, a down zaku. Yeah, I also looked at the posters when Chris and Al are walking down the street together. So there's anything I pull from that, and it's like, no, not beyond the joke I already made about the jerker. Well, one of them says jerker, and the other one says something else, and I can't remember. But it's just like local events. There's nothing I can pull from it. It's not propaganda because why would Side 6 have propaganda?
There is a cleaners, I think, and an insurance company. That's all I.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I made fun of that one because during the scene where they're talking, the insurance company sign bleeds off of the building that it's on onto the next building over. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, that one said soldiers. I only caught that at the very end.
Talked or died or something. Yeah, this is where everything is
the end of
damaged.
last episode.
Weird, we didn't hear a crashing sound when that thing crashed. Yeah, he got burned, or nearly so.
I said it's very hot. How they cut that voice line from this. 10 times zoom.
Also, he's not that older than he is, really. He's a teenager. Looks
Maybe
like a
as old as
teenager.
Chris, probably.
Of
course he's a teenager. It's December. We've run out of pilots. It's kids, teenagers, and old men. That's why I said the captain might be new.
Pointing the gun at a kid.
You know, I was going to say that technically, if this is Side 6, he's not like pro one side or the other, right? So...
Yeah, he's just finding it fascinating.
Well, I would say that, except for the element that they were wanting to trade each other Federation tags. Not Zeon tags. Well, maybe Zeon doesn't have them. It's all clothes related. You know, beyond the pin that the guy's clearly wearing. Careful, one day this guy's going to be a sniper in a tower. The kid.
Yeah, I know him.
What the fuck are you talking about? This is Side 6, then no. Well, except they're future MPs, which will be real assholes 5 years from now.
Oh, that's very poor trigger discipline.
Could not work. You might have been pointing it at a kid because it doesn't work. You know, I'm threatening you with an empty gun, sort of thing.
Why would it be empty, though?
I don't know. Zeon at the end of the war, man.
And he grabs a camera.
Again, I'm not going to say you're going to be smart for guessing when I think you know it already.
Yeah.
Also, you turned your back on the kid with your gun holster. Doesn't even have like a latch or a lock on it.
Yeah.
Also, you know, exactly the same footage. So the fact that the thing still is typed wrong. Okay, then why don't you jump on an enemy soldier and start trying to hit him or anything? Re-Rain, he should kick your ass. I don't care if he's a kid or not. You're a Zeon soldier. You've already done war crimes. Ensign, huh?
He's like,
An ape.
欲しいかこれとそれと交換ってのはどうだ
本当に
あ
騙さない。
Literally not worth
あ
it.
約束するよ
うん。はい。
I know, but he wants to prove that he's seen a.
Again, the idea is that the dollar store is selling like fake versions of these, and the only people you're going to bring it to are kids. I already tell the difference.
Oh, it's a floppy disk.
Well, now we got his name. Oh, I already had his name. Doesn't matter. I already have his full name on the board.
いらないの？
もらったよ
Yeah, proof of the cargo container. And then your superiors better point out that it has the wrong number on it.
秘密だぞじゃあな
So they took over the colony, I guess?
No, they didn't take over the colony. They just did the episode 1 Mobile Suit Gundam thing. They broke in, got the information that they needed. Just without a Gene in charge this time. My planet needs me. Again, you show it to your friends the next day after the girl comes in with all her dollar store Xeon tags.
I mean, these are real mobile suits. Everybody saw them, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's definitely not going to win the argument about the Federation doesn't have mobile suits. I'm just saying that.
What?
Wow. The handprint on the car is the real thing there. The taxi, I guess.
Leonard.
ある。うわ。何やってたんだよこんな時間まで。ちょっとね。先生怒ってる？
Yeah, the teachers were going for them.
学校だったから
They canceled morning classes after all the teachers ran away from the kids.
お前本当に見たのか？
Yeah. I think most people saw it. It's pretty loud.
見てみろよあの女。あの顔。連邦にはモビルスーツがないだと？バカ。
I think she could think that all she wants.
授業中止だ。休みだぞ。やった。
Thank God they sent that kid in to tell us and not a teacher or any adult.
Yeah.
Like the janitor could at least popped his head in, hey kids, there's no school anymore. But I mean,
it's a kid's mission.
I'm just saying it's been like
I,
a month and a half since the GMs actually started coming out on the field. We're in like side 6. They don't have like front row seats to it. I think it's fair that she could have thought that. I'm sorry, did above the curve they just all turned their lights off? What the hell went out there?
I guess he idolizes
Meanwhile,
the
in
war,
Granada.
right? Which is kind of dumb because he sees all the people who are hurt, and it's like, I guess he doesn't have a personal connection to
Please,
it.
guy seal it. Please, guy seal it. God damn it. Who the fuck is that guy? Obviously not the captain, not this guy.
Wow, that's a forehead.
That's what I'm saying. The pinhead we got here. Side 6 called it. I guess it's just an isolated moon base and not Granada.
基地を研究施設と断定し、一個招待による基地を提案されたのは中佐だったと記憶しておりますが、君の言う通りにしていればよかったとでも言いたげだな。今回
The
の
laboratory in
作戦
G-Quest
は
we keep hearing
奴
about.
らも必死なのだ。連邦にしては
The Arctic base, they're saying, was the laboratory.
シャトルをカムフラージュするとはな、大げさなことをやってくれる。どうあっても我々の手には渡したくないらしい。
It's Gundam head, that's all I ever saw.
失礼
戦局を打開するためにはいかなる犠牲を払ってもあいつを奪うか破壊するしかないのだ。ニュータイプ用ガンダムですか？
It's a weird way to say that.
君の意見もよく聞
I mean, that was in the next time on.
50兵の件も認める。君の希望通り優秀なパイロットを選んでおいた。
He may look like a teenager, though.
仕方ねえよ。初戦でいきなりザク一機潰してきたんだ。
He's
Which
on an
is,
instant
I mean-
power. He goes,
待ってろよ。
I mean, it's a major loss here in December.
まあ、戦場のつゆと消えてこいよ。うるさいぞ。おっと。そんなブスッとした顔で行くなよ。
Is that a
印象悪いぞ。
goof? Goof without it's all outside taking off?
yeah.
15時30分。よし。バーナード・ワイズマン5丁入ります。
Oh, a wise guy, eh? Somebody really needs to clean.
Mhm.
Especially that guy's sheets.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a lot.
Thought I was done with 8th MS team. I guess this guy was
どうした
smoking in his
死にかけた
cockpit.
まえワイズマン5丁。
はい。
The worst place, I think, to smoke. Because you think it's got to be airlocked, right? So
作戦って
Yeah, they're not happy with him because
作戦って一体
I think they would be because he's the one that came back with the record of the
Yeah, but they don't know
the
that.
container. I think they do.
本日より君
I think that's why
は
he's being brought onto the unit because he's the one who got the intel.
隣がミハイル、向こうがガルシア、俺が隊長だ。
another Garcia.
はあ
Well, yeah, I
I
mean,
guess it's
you would-
a common last name. in
well, you'd
Spanish.
also know it really well if you heard that in English.
はっきりしない
He's
や
got a pretty thick accent going on.
先日、君が攻撃に加わったコロニーでもう一度大きな作戦が行われる。君の任務は民間の貨物
Yeah,
船に
why the fuck were you also
コロ
attacking
ニーの港
Side
に着ける
6?
ことだ。
Yeah.
積み荷は新型のモビルスーツだ。
Especially if they didn't have the intel before. It made sense when I thought they had the intel.
I mean, they probably followed the shuttle.
港へたどり着けばよい。質問は
They didn't know what it was
あ
exactly,
の
but
あ
It doesn't seem like that's what it was being implied from that meeting a little while
味
ago.
方に撃たれるという可能性は
味方の弾にやられるような間抜けは俺の部隊には必要ない。
That's not on me, though. You
他
understand?
に質問は
That's not on me to get not shot by friendly fire. That's on
コー
you.
ドネームはルビコン計画。本日2300時より発動。
That's
Yeah,
a-
because there's no going back after this.
Mm.
The die is cast. Yeah, let me go ask the original pilot of the Gundam what he thinks about friendly fire. Oh, wait, he died 4 months ago. War in the pocket, get it? Because it's all filled with shit, like a gun and
an ammo clip. Well, ammo.
oh, sorry, an ammo clip and a rocket.
アルフレッド・イズルハ。はい
It's。the teacher, by the way, literally from the image that I got off of behind the voice actors.
この前の全校一斉テスト。ひどい成績。
He's already getting held back a year.
数学
What do you want?
B プラス、国語 C マイナス、科学 C マイナス、社会 D
At this point, he's not passing this year. All you can, like, let him go so we can.
こんな成績が続くようだと、カウンセラーに相談するかお母さんに来てもらうしかないわ。どちらにする？カウンセラー、お母さん。
Definitely a counselor. You're not gonna let my mom know I'm fucking failing. She's just gonna be surprised I'm taking an
帰って
extra year.
おやる生きてたか？どうした？何言われた？あのヒステリー女に。参ったよ。テストのことを親に言いつけるって脅されたよ。
You chose mom? What the fuck is wrong with
出
you?
されたら1ヶ月は外出禁止になっちまう。お前んち厳しすぎないか？そうだよな。
What's your mom like?
厳しいよな。
Yeah.
元気出せよ。
元気ないわね。そう？
School didn't tell you, did they?
別に違うよ。ならいいけど。そろそろテストの結果出るんじゃないの？
Yeah, do our neighbors
Oh,
still have a
jeez.
dog? I'm just gonna send you the dog next week. Well, that's a setup. I don't know why you even have that. Your room has plenty of room in it.
Yeah. Also, that house is pretty big for just two people.
Well, remember, it used to have a third person, but he decided to go off somewhere.
Even with three people, it's like 5 or 6 rooms. I mean, it's a lot.
I just mean he's got so much extra room that he doesn't
Yeah.
need to, like, put the bed up.
あ、
By the way, maybe you should sneak over to the next door and tell your old friend, who's a Federation soldier, by the way, that a creepy Xeon guy has video of you. because I gave it to him. Well, maybe you don't want to implicate yourself. Creep kid.
ごめんなさい。どうしたの？
Oh, Katie.
Also, what is a Federation soldier doing here either way?
肝試しやるんだ。
It's neutral territory.
母さんには言わないでよね。
Why is there a GM here?
秘密行動ってわけね。
Does Side 6 go Federation by the end of the war?
It could,
この次の時は
I mean, it could be one of the Banshee who, or
I'm actually a Federation spy. But not really, because I showed you my uniform.
女は混ぜちゃいけない決まりなんだ。じゃあ
I'm sorry, are you meeting Bernard?
女はダメか。
The element if they are siding with the Federation here late in the war. Because again, there's a stationed GM there from the Federation, and the kids are talking about the Federation.
multiple GMs.
But my point is, that's not neutral, man. You're bullshit. If I was playing a war game with you, and suddenly you were like neutral the whole time, suddenly you're stationing my enemies in your territory, my last action in this game is gonna make you suffer. I might not no longer be able to win the game, but you're certainly not winning the game either.
みたいだな。
Also, why wouldn't the local police or something be all over
Maybe
this?
it's too much. Maybe they don't have the resources to move it around right now. Or they're taking care of the rebuilding efforts and the dead and dying.
くそ、なんだ。あいた。お。
I'd be more like, why didn't the Xeon guy activate some sort of self-destruct or something? Hell, why doesn't every Zaku have a nuclear self-destruct?
That might be a bit too much.
That'd be a bit too much if you thought you were going to survive, but if you're abandoning it, you remember in G-Quux, right? The Zakus are just meant to explode. Especially if you have other Zakus in the area, like Bernard got picked up by. Just leave this thing. It's no longer combat able.
Yeah.
Nuke destruct it and get out. You're fucking Xeon. You do 3 war crimes before breakfast.
何ですか？
Dead body.
よし、オッケーだ。
Carpool lane, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
お互いついて
They expect to see somebody.
Yeah.
なんだ？ああ。
Couldn't you have done that before you put it in?
了解。
I guess technically you needed a bullet hole in the window, maybe.
Oh, you're. I think I know what they're going for. Going for the
Guazian.
emergency ploy.
0080 draw on Guazian.
開始まであと20分。ミノフスキー粒子3分始め。来たか。特務艦を先に出させろ。特務艦サイド6に向けて発進せよ。了解。
Oh, a Federation transport that's being chased by the Xeon so that they can then be rescued from the Xeon, who will conveniently stop chasing them once the Federation shows up. I think this ploy would have been better if they didn't have a fucking Guazian there, which is the best kind of ship that you even have. Also, that you're using a Guazian for this decoy. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not Guazian. That would be a super wasted use, you know? That'd be like doing a decoy operation and having the Enterprise being the thing chasing you.
来た。
I meant that as a U.S. air carrier. I didn't actually mean that as like Star Trek Enterprise.
始まったな。行くぞ。
That music certainly is 80s. Well, that's an elite suit.
Sorry, I know it from Gundam Evolution, but I can't remember its name. I actually know the one I'm thinking about has a hover instead of legs.
頑張れよポンコツ。
Is it supposed to be from Side 7? The transport? Because he has the 7. I don't know if it's like...
Yeah.
There's also, you know, the fake story that Al came up with about the thing being transported to Side 7, which
こちら貨物船アガベルで応答してくれ。
more true than he actually knew.
Oh, he's suitably scared.
Thank God the GMs weren't made to nuclear explode.
ああ、戦闘だ。コロニーの外で戦闘やってるんだ。
He just fell asleep until daytime.
No, because remember, he's been here since nighttime.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. He fell asleep until daytime. Yeah.
Well, no, he fell asleep at daytime because he's been awake since nighttime. Maybe you should be like, oh no, my co-pilot's dead, or, you know, not so giggly happy.
Yeah.
リアの政府はもうちょっとしっかりしてくれないと困るんだよね。
Rhea government?
領空内で
Rhea, Side 6. Glad I brought it up in my notes.
こっちは商売になんないよ。
氏名および登録番号。
バルター・ペーターゼン ID ナンバー TG40983726
It's the most generic name we could have thought of.
おい、もっと丁寧に扱ってくれよ。人形じゃないんだ。
受け取り先の信任状。
書類はそれで全部だけど。
書類がなければ検査が必要だな。
でも、
Yeah, what fake cargo did they give him?
いや、そうじゃないけど、なんていうか、何も書類1枚くらいのことで。
こっちだって暇でやってるわけじゃないんだ。書類ぐらい揃えてくれ。こちら B4。
Or is this a Trojan horse? I may have missed what the setup was for what's inside the thing.
早く運び出してくれ。はい。ほら。
Oh, the captain and the two guys, Garcia and what's his name?
私が受け取り先の代表でして、これが信任状です。書式は整っているようだが、これは本来。
Thank God there's no computer here hooked up to a computer network in which I could check these things conceivably.
今日中に納品しませんと延滞金を払わにはならんのですよ。いや、そんなことになったらうちの会社は倒産しちまう。それに先方にも申し訳が立たんのですよ。ね、お願いします。時間がないんです。ああ、わかったわかった。
That's a fast talk roll if I ever saw it.
ありがとうございます。戦闘のおかげでこっちも後が詰まってんだから、次からはちゃんと書類を揃えてくれよな。
寝ちゃったよ。母さんに知れるとやばいな。
What, that you weren't in your room this morning? The day after a fight broke out? So we meet again, Bernard.
びっくりした。
バカ野郎！死にてえのかこのガキ！
Well, shit. Kid can break my cover now. He just spotted me. And will remember me.
Oh, he's gonna climb in the back of the vehicle, of course.
I think legit, if you're like doing this sort of operation, run a red light.
No, actually, you don't want to do that. You know why? You don't want police attention.
Here's the thing. I think if you're already riding on the identities that you used to sneak your way in, do it.
Oh, that kid.
Do it because I think it's more important that you, the possibility that the police might not get you because I don't think this is the era of cameras taking pictures of shit when you run a red light and there's nobody else in the area. This kid could finger you. And we all know Lessons doesn't want to get fingered. Yeah, definitely more important to shake this kid than it is to not run a red light. Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom.
Yeah. Also, this might explain what happened to Site 6 until the end of the war, right? That it didn't escape the war. The war came to Site 6 either way.
What episode did White Base go to Site 6?
episode 28, I think it was.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, all the war are seen by through the eyes of children. That seems to be the running theme here.
Farewell Inside 6 is the 33rd episode of Gundam. I think they only stayed there for like 1 or 2 episodes. So say 32.
2 episodes.
So say
Yeah,
32.
2 episodes. Yeah.
Well, but Dren died in episode 32.
Yeah.
Sorry. Also, remember we have to talk over this.
Mhm.
Oh, now they go towards Side 6 at the end of episode 32, so 33. Farewell Inside 6. Well, that's regarding Cameron and Mirai. It's not farewell to Side 6, so 33.
33 and 34. In 33, they talk about it, and in 34, they try to go to the dock, and they have to fight their way out. Yeah.
So December 16th is episode 33. Sorry, I was trying to check my timeline notes.
Mhm.
So that is December 16th. Why was I looking this up again? What did you say? You were saying something about this is when Side 6 said something about
what really happened to Side 6 after the war.
Really happened?
Or, in the tail end of the war.
Yeah. So
you're right. Those look like war helmets. They don't look like...
Very specific, like Vietnam era.
Next episode. Yeah, right.
お前正気か？
銃を取って戦うわけじゃないわ。
There goes that guy.
Okay, things pulled out from that. One, at the very end, when he spots the gouf, he's wearing the Special Forces badge on his bottom of his shirt, meaning Bernard probably gave that to him.
Gave it to
as somebody to, yeah. Also, he brought Bernard to the house, and it seems like Chris has told Bernard that she is a Federation soldier because she's having a conversation. It's not like I fight with a gun. So it seems like, well, because, why would she care what she tells? Because everyone here is either neutral or siding with the Federation now, apparently. And clearly wouldn't be a Xeon soldier here. That'd be fucking insane. There's no way he'd get in. So, clearly thinks he's cute, same age, hitting on him. I'm a Federation soldier. I think she's not hiding it. She literally showed Al, like when she took the uniform out. Yeah. But what I was saying, December 16th. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here, and well, fuck it, it doesn't matter. My timeline of events. December 16th is when White Base shows up at Side 6. Episode 3 also takes place on December 16th of this show.
Interesting. It can't be the same batch either. It's Side 6.
Definitely not. I mean,
we've
already covered that sides are made up of different banchai. It's just interesting, that crossover of events. Again, this is why I like having a timeline of things. Obviously, my timeline is just this episode takes place on this day. It doesn't give me any details. I write in the details after, or I should be. I haven't been. Literally all of November, all I've written down is after the defeat of Odessa, mass evacuation of officers and soldiers and equipment into space. All of November. That's all I've written. I've got the dates. I just haven't been keeping good details. It's not like my Legends of Galactic Heroes timeline, where I wrote down every conceivable fact for every week, every day. But I mean, it's still, there's a fight going on, right?
Outside, yeah.
And we know there's going to be a fleet in the area because the White Base is getting chased. Technically, that means whatever this guy and his Pinhead here and his Guazine is up to, Char is also in the area in a Musai. Well, maybe.
Whatever.
I don't know.
No, he comes a little later, yeah.
Well, no. He's still in the area. I'm just thinking of the Musai that Dren dies the day before. So the Musai I'm thinking about is technically destroyed. That and 2 other Musai. Dren's whole little micro fleet is destroyed. Poor Dren.
Yeah, taken out by Amuro.
Yep, the unfairity of the primary protagonist.
So still fascinating. We have 4 episodes to go.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
So the element I was talking about episode 3. So
yeah.
My head was already in episode 3. I've already like seen it. I haven't actually. Don't take that as like obviously I haven't seen it, but the next time on, I feel like I know a good 20 minutes of the episode. That's what I'm saying. To me, more worthwhile to run the red light than to let this kid catch up, who has, I know, seen me already. If you let him catch up, he's gonna solidify, that's you, I know you. I talked to you already. And then from there, he can tell anybody, oh, there's a Xeon guy still hanging around here.
But tells his buddies, it's the kids like, oh yeah, there's a Xeon guy. Oh yeah, I saw a Xeon guy. So yeah,
literally, there was a fight just yesterday. I think people are gonna at least look into what the kid says. I mean, we're 11 plus months into the war. I think you have to take for granted, like, you want to investigate everything, even the kid who cries wolf.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
All right.
In the pocket, 02.
Well, 0080.
Yeah, but I mean 02 as in episode 2.
I would say episode 2. Or EP2, or I mean that's how I type it when I'm doing all my stuff.
EP2.
Well, when I'm doing the scheduler and I need to like, what's this episode name to put under the episodes on the schedule? It's like, that's why I just have a thing on the side that says EP, space EP whatever, so I can just fill it in real quick. I can get the names to put on there. Anyway, yeah. So I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?